Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Diallo Marcel Crichton again. I just wanted to respond to an email that was sent to me by New York psychic medium Jesse Bravo, I believe it was. I don't know if it was a mass email or if it was a personal email, but it was sent to me, and he wanted to know the comments that I had on an ABC program that I guess was addressing the issue of psychics and whether psychics are real. And also, within the email, it talked about James Randi and how James Randi hates everything paranormal and psychic. So I want to get this. I want to get one thing out of the way first. I want to clear up one thing. I'm gonna respond to this, but I think that it's very foolish for us and the people who are into the paranormal, who are fascinated about expanding the mind and what people misunderstand as supernatural, to constantly find ourselves arguing, debating, or trying to shed light on skeptics who don't believe or who think we're crazy. I think it's a waste of time, and what happens is you get caught up on stuff rather than making the breakthrough. And when I say that, I'll use an example. The Wright brothers were trying to make airplanes. At that time, around that time roughly, one of the leading scientists around that era basically wrote a paper that stated that it was impossible to have a machine that could fly. And then the Wright brothers, who were amateur mathematicians and shop owners of a bicycle shop, made an airplane. I'm pretty sure the Wright brothers didn't spend all their waking hours trying to fight the scientist who told them that the plane couldn't fly through the air. But with that being said, I'm going to cut right into the first thing that I think of, what I think happens when you go to psychics. A few years ago, I went down and I met a priest in what would be called Santeria, probably more like Yoruba, but a Cuban gentleman. And he did a reading on me, and I had known enough then because I used to speak at the Paranormal Psychology Institute of Huntsville, and I hung around a number of psychics, that when I showed up to what they call the Botanica, that I turned off my cell phone and I didn't talk to anybody in the waiting room, just in case stuff was rigged up, that people were spying on me. I went in the back. He did his ritual, and he proceeded to tell me things that I know he didn't know, because I didn't know this guy. And I didn't call the guy, I didn't give him my phone number. There was no way he could have done a background check on me, and I was very impressed. What I did know is we had a very good experience. He told me a lot of stuff about my life that I knew he didn't know, and he told me stuff that was to come as well. Now what happened is he told me that he didn't think I should be into Santeria or any religion for that matter. That's what he saw. I shouldn't be into any organized religion. But they invited me back because the high priestess at the time wanted to see me. I came back, and he asked me at one point when I came back to see them, how do you think we do what we do? And I told him, because it was something that bothered me myself. I'm the type of guy, when something happens to me that's abnormal, I think and think and think and think about it. And I started studying science on it. And what I told him is I believe that everything around us is energetic, has an energetic field. Everything is energy. If you look at matter and you break down quantum physics to like its fundamental form, matter compresses, or is compressed energy. It's energy that compresses down, that's not explosive energy. So it's more stabilized energy in itself. And those are vibrating particles, subatomic particles, whatever have you. So what I told him is that everything has an energy to it. And one of the reasons why these psychics have a hard time picking up on stuff like lottery numbers and tell me specific details is because they're picking up on energy impressions rather than just a specific cold detail. And he kind of looked at me because they believe in spirits and stuff. And as I got deeper into quantum physics and got deeper into scientists who are studying all sorts of stuff, it dawned on me that what we call the spirit world is probably full, and I hate to say this because I know people are going to laugh at me, but it's probably full of energy type life forms. Because, if you ever study anything that has to do with high science, you realize that we can only see, sense, taste, and hear to a certain level. We're only, grasping on the world around us probably 0.1% out of 99%. So you're probably only, if you're lucky, you're probably only getting close to 1% of everything that's going on around you right now. And just to further take this one step further, especially when you're dealing with psychics and communication, is that whenever you're around that kind of phenomenon, is if you take basic studies in communication, and they're doing studies in communication right now that show that the words that we speak to each other make up less than 30% of our communication. And what they're finding out is a massive portion of communication comes by non-verbal cues. And so, if you really think about it, if you sit down with somebody who's spent a lot of time reading people and they're picking up on your non-verbal cues, and especially if they have an ability that or a gift a little bit better than other people, there is a lot of valid points to people who seem to read your mind. But then you have to take it even a step further than that, and you got to come to the grips that if there is like non-verbal communication going on right now that science is aware of, 70% of body cues and non-verbal communication, how much is science not aware of? Because people don't really get to the fact that science is a religion of measurement. These people basically say we don't believe it's real unless we can measure it. Now that gets you into this paradox where basically your reality is based on your instruments. The reality that you see around you is only based on the instruments that you have. So as the instruments advance and your form of measurement gets greater, then all of a sudden new realities open up and you can admit that this is there. You can admit that, hey, we only communicate 30% of the time verbally. So that's why I would like to say to people, I'll make this short today, but that's why I like to say to people, don't get bogged down, don't get bent out of shape because James Randi, who produces Ben and Stiller, can prove that there's a lot of charlatans out there and that most of this stuff doesn't exist and da 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 da. I mean, to an animal walking around, the ability for us to take complex thoughts and communicate amongst each other is magic. We're manipulating sounds in a way that we can give detailed, abstract thought to one another. And if you take that even further than what I just said, is the fact that two people can say the same thing, and unless you guys know each other or feel each other, you really don't know what they're communicating. So I can say to you, hey man, go get that off the shelf. And if you've had an experience with me all your life, you know that when I say get that off the shelf, it's time to party. Go get that book off the shelf. When I say go get that book off the shelf and I'm another person, I could be upset with you. I could be agitated and every time this guy gets ticked off, he tells me take the book off the shelf because he's getting at the fact that I'm messy. So, like I said, communication, and that's what psychic medium is to a high extent. Communication, science hasn't caught on to everything in communication. Science definitely hasn't caught on to everything with the subconscious mind. Science is just grasping the fact that when you think, you give off electrochemicals. These electrochemicals are made of the same subatomic particles that form everything around us. So your thoughts are actually, and you've heard this 100 times, your thoughts are actually things. So in light of all this, like I said before, I'm going to repeat it again, don't get caught up in the skeptics. The skeptics are very primitive. They're dealing with very physical science. They'll have you, and this conversation I'm having, I couldn't get up on a TV show and have it because I get laughed out of the show because TV, the media, the what people call the Illuminati, etc., is all about shutting down anything that has to do with you really thinking outside of the box. So you can't be a really cool person, or you can't be a high functioning person in society, unless you just think this rigid way. And that's not the reality. Their own science admits that they don't even know how people really communicate to each other. Their own science admits that they don't even really know what electricity is. There's all this phenomena that you can study that's been scientifically proven and recorded where people are having the same thoughts at the same time, where people see the same things, where people have written the same music in different parts of the world, and etc. and etc. and etc. But anyway, keep the psychic thing going. Don't let them get you down. One love. Peace.